Because when you're afraid to face your enemy and deal with your enemy and define your manhood as a defeat of your enemy, then you're thrown back on yourself. And a great deal of black-on-black violence, whether it's black men against black men, or black men against white men, or black men against women, or black men against themselves in terms of destructive habits such as addictions, it is a result of what? People who have surrendered to a certain cowardice and who have given up the thought that they can overthrow the white man and his rule, and have permitted themselves to fall in a state of despair and fear, and therefore now seek to soothe their despair and hurt masculine pride by then getting inebriated and high and finishing themselves off for the enemy, or overcompensating and destroying women and children in the same way, you see. So I hope you can begin to see that manhood involves much more than chauvinism, ladies and gentlemen. Am I able to get through here? Now, not only then, in order for the Sambaru to be a man, he must engage in self-denial. And that's a part of the deal too. One of the things the Sambaru boy does, at a certain point, he stands before his mother's and the women quarters and swears that from this point on, he will not eat any food seen by the married woman. What is he saying here? He's not going to eat any more of his mother's food. He's not going to eat any more of the food given by women. That means he hates women? Not at all. He's saying now, I'm getting ready to move from the position of consumer and taker into the position of what? Producer. You see? And no matter how tempting the food is, and no matter how, wonderful it is, and some of this food is their natural food and the food that they love very much, I'm going to deny myself this until I achieve the ability and the capacity to make it for myself, and now to feed my mother, other than being what? Fed by her. A whole different reversal. And that is a part of the manhood ritual. To move a boy who is a sucker of milk and eating at mother's breast and so forth, to move him into the role as producer. You see, we used to have that in our society too in the old days, didn't we? You used to hear a guy when he was young say, man, the first thing I'm going to do when I start making money is buy my mama a house. You don't hear that much anymore, do you? And I'm going to set my mama up, and I'm going to make her stop working, and the whole deal. We don't hear that. I'm going to mama and see, can I get something to eat? A whole different ethos going on here. And yet, he is an American, Different thing. A part of that ceremony of the Sambaru and of the Maasai is that the boy cannot be a man until he kills his first oxen. And then he cuts that oxen and gives the biggest piece to his mother, you see. And what is he symbolizing again? I am now what? The producer and the provider. So as I shall show you later, you see, manhood, believe it or not, ladies and gentlemen, is a nurturing definition. Men are nurturers and givers to their society. It is only in this deteriorated definition of what it means to be a man, and only when we have let this oppression separate us from our tradition, that our men continue to be consumers and takers. It is only the absence of the knowledge of our culture that has permitted us to deteriorate to the point where we are today, you see. And taking in uncritically feminist philosophy to the point where we doubt and we're ashamed to say that we are men. You see, we got to get out of that. His worthiness comes not only from accumulating, and note this thing about the manhood here that's prevalent throughout many African systems. His worthiness comes not only from accumulating, but from lavish gifting during feasts. Manhood or masculinity is a kind of moral, invisible hand that guides the activities of self-respecting individuals toward the collective end of capital accumulation. What do we mean here? In other words, if you really want to be a big man, after you accumulate this property and the cattle and so forth, what do? You give it back. You give a big feast. You just feed people, you see. And the more you feed, and one of the things you really do is you be the one who eat the least at your feast. And the more you're able to make people eat more, and the less you eat, the more of a man you are, you see. And this is why you teach these boys, they're not going to eat until they kill their own cattle. And if they starve, so be it. What can I tell you? Because we can't afford you. You see, you demonstrate then your ability as a producer, you see. You demonstrate your ability to enter into self-denial, not because it, quote unquote, just makes you a man, but in making you a man, you feed the nation and you feed the people. This black man, you see, has been duped by this religion into hating money and hating wealth. And I try to tell black people, we are wealth-producing people. Where do we get this thing here of identifying with poverty? Where do we get this craziness of seeing poorness and goodness as the same thing? And seeing virtue in poverty? We have to get it from the other people. It doesn't make any sense. There's no greatness in being poor and poverty-stricken. In fact, there's great sin that flows out of poverty. Yeah. Look who hits you over the head. Rich folk? Are they the ones mugging you out here? No, poverty is not automatically virtue. But of course, you see, the other people, in order to rob us and keep us poor, makes us associate virtue and poverty, you see. And somehow we are not supposed to make money. You got a bunch of jokers around here, you know, yeah, you know, black people are not good accountants. You know, give it to the Jews. They know what to do with money. How the hell the Jews can outcount money more than you? Money is money. That's all. The Jew doesn't have any greater facility with money than you have. But I told you here some lectures ago, right, that the white man is no better manager of business than we are. What is his advantage? He only makes you what? Pay for his mistakes. Do you remember when I told you that? Back some time ago? Hasn't the S&L crisis shown you that? White man mismanaging the economy, destroying the systems, destroying the banks. Are they in jail? Are they paying back? No, we're going to pay for that. We're going to pay for that. You know, but yet we have this myth, you know, that they are better managers of business, that they're this and they're that, because we don't take time to see, because we have not received an African-centered education that can permit us to look through this nonsense and see what is right in front of our eyes. And we see the mismanagement of the economy all the time. Total mismanagement. Screwing up. But what happens? Well, we screwed it up this time. We're sorry, we got to put you off the job. Yeah, we got to furlough you. We got to make you pay more taxes. You know, this is the game. This is what the game is about. No calling into question the leadership of the white male as a business person or financial person at all. In fact, we think he's even great now that he sits up and outlines how many jobs must be lost in the city and how many departments, he talks percentages and so forth, not realizing he's covering up his what? His failures. Oh, but isn't he magnificent the way he lays out how many folk got to be fired and destroyed. Wow, I wonder if a black man could do that. You know, craziness. But that's the result of power. You make other people pay for your mistakes. And that's the result of weakness. You pay for the mistakes of others. And that's the way the game is set up. That's the reality of life, ladies and gentlemen. It's not pretty, but that's what it's about. That's why a man doesn't worry about being what? Pretty. He has to deal with the realities and the harsh realities that exist out here. And those realities are not beautiful. And therefore he doesn't spend all his time primping.